How many people here have allergies? Anybody here have arthritis or inflammation? Does anybody have a recurring physical condition, headaches, skin challenges, stomach trouble, that seems to have become a normal fact of life for them? Okay, we're all human. Most of us have had these human moments and have gone through different types of symptoms. But what if these symptoms were a message that we got to decode and understand what it was trying to tell us? What if we were able to reverse some of those symptoms? Many of us at some point in our lives have had to go on a healing journey, and that can be really difficult for various reasons, but also incredibly rewarding. Has anybody here had to do that in their own lives? Yeah, quite a lot of us. Yeah. So we're often told there are many basic areas of health that will help us to stay strong and healthy. Nutrition, exercise, environment, peace of mind, as Ken Honda said the other day, community, heart connections, personal satisfaction. And I want to talk about this last one for a moment, genetics. There are quite a lot of studies that have been done around parents who have both biological children and adopted children. And they looked at the factors that really impacted their health. And the assumption was that those children who were genetically, biologically related would inherit the high blood pressure, the heart disease, and whatever else was running in the families. But what if we actually inherited other elements that played a more important role, such as mindset? What if what we inherited from our families played a stronger role than even genetics? I'm not discounting genetics, but there are other elements that we can look at that help us become even more empowered. So for me, growing up, I had a lot of stomach trouble. I had my first bout of arthritis when I was 13, and later on again in my adulthood. So I had already been pushed into this struggle to find out, how can I help myself? How can I feel better? I studied Chinese medicine, acupuncture, Ayurveda, Qigong. I was a martial arts instructor. I was an athlete. I studied nutrition. I did everything possible that I could to feel better. And sometimes it helped. Other times it seemed to fall back. So I'd like to share one of those moments with you, one of those stories that was pivotal in my shifting of my understanding of what else could be behind a lot of our symptoms, and how easy it can be to reverse many of our symptoms once you understand what's behind it. So in 2007, my mom and I were visiting Scotland and Ireland, and about halfway through the trip, I started to get a lot of dryness in my eyes. And then that turned to stinging, and then eventually to pain. The pain felt like knives being stabbed into my eyes. It was so intense. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And I had a high pain tolerance from martial arts training and high-level athletic training. So for me to say, wow, I don't know how I can handle this, was something. And I remember being on that flight back home. I was sitting in the chair in the plane. My toes were curled, my jaw was clenched, my stomach was tight, and I was negotiating with myself. Okay, you can make it. You're gonna get off the plane soon. Just another hour, another hour, another hour. Has anyone ever been in that situation where you're in public, you can't get home, and you just feel awful? Yeah, it sucks. Doesn't it? It really doesn't feel very good. And as soon as we got off that flight, I turned to my mom and I said, Mom, I need you to take me to the hospital now. now. She was worried, but she didn't know how bad it was because I downplayed it. I didn't want to worry her. And I remember at the hospital, we got there, they checked my eyes, they checked everything, they did tests. They didn't find anything except a tiny amount of dryness. So they put a little freezing agent into my eyes to reduce the pain that was given off from the nerves. Sent me home and said, okay, sleep, by the time you wake up, you'll have more energy, you will have recovered, you'll be fine. I said to my mom the same thing, I'll be fine tomorrow. That was the first lie I said to her and myself. The next morning, didn't take long, I was up maybe an hour after I went to bed. It must have been 2 or 3 a.m. The stinging was so intense, I could barely stop from screaming out loud. The next day I went back to the hospital and also went to my doctor. I went through test after test after test. They didn't find anything. Nothing. So I explored various therapies. I did everything possible. I cleaned up my home, reduced any chemicals. I turned to only organic products and food. I had the amalgam removed from my teeth. I did everything possible that I knew of to help myself. And yet, none of it made a difference. On the outside, I looked like I had a really healthy lifestyle, but I was really suffering. It was not helping. My frustration grew, my financial strain grew, as I was paying out of pocket for all these therapies in an attempt to feel better. Doctors at this point began to think that I was either lying or a hypochondriac. And I remember my personal doctor even said to me, Yvette, why don't you get a massage? Go take some yoga, relax, it's probably stress-induced, which was something that made me very angry because I had already been doing those things and I felt like she just didn't see me and understand or make the effort to really dig deep. I spent my days with my eyes closed 18, 19, 20 hours at a time, just listening to Abraham Hicks in the background, repeating mantras, breathing, negotiating with myself, convincing myself, distracting myself, trying not to scream from the pain. I was really desperate, and I wanted to find answers. This impacted my whole life. I stopped being able to go out. I even had to leave my friend's wedding at one point because an hour into it, I just couldn't keep my eyes open. I had to rush back home and close them and put gel over them. So this really impacted the lifestyle. By the second year, I considered suicide. This was just not a way that I could live anymore. So, what kept me going during these first 2 years? 3 things. I had a really clear goal and a belief and a why. I was a big believer that everything happens for a reason. There are no accidents in life. And I was really sure that if I didn't learn this lesson, whatever this was about, I might have to repeat this in another life. And there's no way I wanted to repeat this experience. I'm like, God help me, I'm going to figure it out now in this life. The second thing was trusting my intuitive guidance. Deep down, I knew the doctors had missed something. And I don't know where this idea came from. It was this intuitive spark that came. And I just felt certain that there was something the tests were not picking up. And community support. During this quest, I met so many beautiful healers and practitioners who became my team that rallied and supported me and really kept me going forward. So by the 3rd year, my eyes had begun to feel a little bit better. But instead of it declining bit by bit, the pain, it really played with my psyche. So the pain went down a little bit. And then I thought, yes, okay, it's getting better, amazing, my hopes went up. And then it got worse, and it crashed my hopes. And this went on, up and down for that 3rd year. But by the end of that 3rd year, it was okay enough that I almost felt normal. However, obviously something was still not quite right. This is where I thought, I wonder if parasites are an issue. And I don't even know where this thought came from, because I had no prior experience with parasites. I didn't own any pets that I took to the vet. I had no reason to think this, and yet, intuitively, I kept hearing this voice saying, go and check for parasites. Go and check for parasites. I went back to the doctors and I asked them to send me to the specialist. And do you know what they said? They refused. They refused. I'm crazy. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been to a tropical country. I have no way of knowing this is a parasite. I'm wrong. It's not a parasite. This was very difficult. It's so easy to sign the paper and send me for one test, and they refused. Sometimes we have an intuition about something, and even though everyone around us says, you're nuts, this is not true, and maybe even you doubt yourself, but deep down, you know there's some truth to that. Has anyone ever felt that? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. We all have. So this is when I first heard about this technology called bioresonance. And I immediately looked up to see where there was a practitioner in my area. Luckily, there was one in Toronto where I was living at the time. She was a medical doctor, and she incorporated this into her practice. So when I had my first scan, she sat me down and said, the number one reason you're having problems is because you have a parasite whose toxic waste material is very acidic, and it has eaten away at the epithelial lining of your eyes. So you know how you have skin protecting your flesh? You have skin protecting your eyes. And that was gone for me. So when I opened my eyes, every little dust particle felt like a stab. There was no protection. It also identified multiple other areas that I needed to correct. Mold, heavy metals, other toxicities, etc. Most of which I had known about and or suspected. But the most important thing at that moment was having somebody validate me and say, you're not nuts. Your intuition was right. And she said, we can reverse this. Which felt like a miracle to me at that point. I also later went to an ophthalmologist who verified that the epithelial lining of my eyes had indeed disintegrated. And when I asked her about the dryness and how to get this to regrow, what we can do, she said to me, Yvette, it's unlikely that will heal. You'll just continue using eye drops and try to live with the pain. That's not an answer I liked. I'm sure none of us would appreciate that answer. But I was pretty determined to keep moving forward. I went back to the doctor who did the bioresonance scan, and she said, what we can do is calibrate the machine to fine-tune the exact frequency that will help to kill off that parasite. I thought, wow, that sounds amazing, let's do it. And so I began to work with her. And very soon, my eyes began to feel better. It was incredible. It was like a miracle. And it took several years to get here, but we finally did. And in that moment, I thought, I need to learn this. I need to add that to my repertoire, for my family, for my friends. So, what is bioresonance? It's a technology that uses gentle electromagnetic frequencies to scan your system for things like viruses, mold, bacteria, parasites, and a whole host of other areas. Every single cell in our body has a unique vibrational frequency, including what's in it: heavy metals, various parasites, amoebas, viruses, bacteria, they all vibrate at a unique frequency. What we do is scan the body, and then if it finds those frequencies, we know exactly what's happening for you. It is a detailed scan. It's truly incredible. So for example, if a healthy lung cell vibrates at 72 hertz, and when I scan your system, your lungs are vibrating at 60 hertz, I know that there's low energy in your lungs. We then go and do a secondary scan to understand why is there a drop in energy. Is it due to an infection? Is it due to toxicity and injury, or even psychological? What I love about this is that it looks at the root cause. So many times people will come in and say, this is what hurts, or this is my big complaint. And the scan doesn't even show it. And they think the technology is broken. No. What is showing in chronological order is the most important thing to fix first. So it goes by the root analysis, the most important thing, because once you correct that, you're not going to be repeating the same symptom over and over again. It's wonderful. This is a scan. On the left side, you'll see an MRI. On the right side is a bioresonance. And you'll notice there are darker squares, the black squares in the same spot as the MRI scan. This machine can be used in two different ways. One, in person. And in person, the main way is to put on what looks like headphones on your head, and this is where it begins the scanning process. There are different types of machines on the market, but this is the main foundation for all of them. So I'd like to share a few case studies with you, just to give you some ideas of what is possible in terms of reclaiming our health and how to look at what is going on when we have a symptom of some type. I had a gentleman come in once, and he said to me, Yvette, I feel great. I have no issues. However, I'm just curious. I want to know if the scan will show us anything. This was really strange because people don't typically come in with no issues. But I thought, okay, let's scan. And I only found one thing. He had inflammation of the arteries on the right side of his head, and that was it. But what really stood out was that it had been ongoing for over 20 years, according to the scan. I asked him, do you have headaches, especially on the right side? He said, no. I said, do you have any eye trouble issues? No. So I told him what we found, and I suggested, well, even though you say you feel great, I'm happy for you, let's reduce the inflammation. So we came back a couple of times. We calibrated the scan so that it helped the body self-correct and reduce that inflammation. And on the last scan, it looked great. No more inflammation. I thanked him and I sent him home. The next morning, I got a phone call from this gentleman. He was in tears. You know when you hear somebody trying to choke back their emotion and not burst out crying? That was him on the phone. And I thought for a moment, oh my gosh, what happened? And I asked him, what's happening? What's going on? And he said, okay, Yvette, I'm going to tell you the truth. I lied to you when I told you there was nothing wrong. I have had a headache on the right side of my head for over 20 years. I've been to every doctor in the country that I could find. I've even been to doctors in the neighboring countries. And no one ever figured out what was wrong. This morning, I woke up pain-free for the first time in 2 decades. And at this point, we were both crying. Because I knew what it was like to be in chronic pain. And I was thrilled for him. Thrilled. I was so happy he got his life back. Mothers often bring their children in, sometimes fathers as well. And they will complain of having an itchy bum. It's a very common concern for kids, actually. And oftentimes, it's due to a parasite. There are certain parasites, 2 or 3, that like to live in the lining of the rectal tissue. Sorry for being so graphic here. And once we identify that and clear the parasite, there's no more itching. And it can be that easy once you know where to look. Once there was a lady who came in and she said, I just feel like my immune system is really low. I need a boost. I'm very tired. And in the scan, I noticed something that kept coming up over and over again. It said that the cilia had burned off. The cilia are the tiny hairs that are along the alimentary canal in the nose, nasal passages, the intestines. It helps to move food and debris in and out of the body. And it said, the scan said, that it had been burnt off. It didn't just say that it was not present, it said it had been burnt off by radiation. This was really unusual. It's the first time I've ever seen that. And I said to this lady, okay, I have to ask you, help me understand this. Maybe you know. This is what I'm finding. She sat back in her chair looking really surprised. And she said, wow, last week was my last radiation treatment for cancer. And I have no hair on my body. This is a wig. I have nothing, and my nose is always dripping because there's no hair holding back anything. And I thought, okay, so we know where to start. Like, it's so detailed. Let's talk about allergies for a moment. So, where do allergies come from? We're typically not born with allergies. We develop allergies. They're an intelligent response from the mind trying to protect us from something it deemed dangerous, unsafe, unwanted. And whenever we have that trigger, we have that allergic response again. The other reason for an allergy is a high level of toxicity in the system, especially mold. Mold and heavy metals and bacteria. So while we may be nervous around the springtime with pollen, what if you could actually figure out the root cause of your allergy and reverse it? I'd like to share a story with you. In my early part of my clinical experience when I was working in Chinese medicine and acupuncture in Toronto, we had a lady come in. She had severe allergies to white flowers and oranges. And she had nearly died many times because she had accidentally gotten close to these 2 items. We went through a variety of questions with her. When did this first start? What happened? What does she remember? And around the time that her allergies developed, she said, well, that was when my husband died. And we thought, okay, but what else happened? And she couldn't quite get any information. We went back and forth, and eventually a memory popped up. And she said, oh my gosh, I remember where I saw the oranges and where I saw the white flowers. She said, one day after work, I went home. I opened the door to the living room, and my husband had hung himself. And right next to his body on the table was a vase of white flowers and a bowl of oranges. Her mind had associated those 2 items with death and danger. Her mind created an intelligent response to protect her because of that association. It's amazing what we do to protect ourselves, isn't it? As soon as she realized the trigger, the allergy evaporated. Even 6 months later, we checked in with her. She didn't have allergies. She was completely fine. She loved oranges. She was eating them. No problems. It was that easy. It just took years to get to the root cause. Wow, I'm always amazed at how our minds work to protect us, to heal us. We are incredible masterpieces. Nothing is an accident. Even the symptoms that feel really unpleasant, there's a reason. And if we can figure out the reason, it would help in getting us beyond that much more quickly. Let's talk a little bit about arthritis. When I was 13, I developed severe arthritis of my right hand. For 2 years, I lost the use of this hand. I couldn't even hold a pencil to write. I had to learn to write with my left hand. That's why I'm ambidextrous today. I had to brush my teeth with my left hand, brush my hair, do everything. That served me later, but at the time it was very challenging. And having constant pain was very difficult. Now, 2 years into that, I had this intuitive thought. Why am I such a perfectionist? Who am I doing this for? And I realized I'm constantly searching for love and validation. I'm using this perfectionism to prove I'm worthy of being safe and being loved. And I don't need to do that because I have that. I don't need to kill myself bending over backwards to be the star athlete or the top student in the class. It's okay. I don't need to do that to myself. And there was this beautiful moment of grace where I felt so much self-love. It was beautiful. And I'm so grateful I had that realization then, because I don't know how long it would have taken me to get to there afterwards. Do you know how long it took me to have this hand completely reverse the arthritis? What do you think? Close. It took me less than 24 hours. That was the evening I had this realization. I went to bed. The next morning I got up, my hand was completely fine, as though there was no arthritis ever. Even my doctor was amazed. So he said, "What did you do?" I said, "I just learned to love myself a little better, finally." I decided to get happier. Yeah. Later on, in my 30s, I developed a little bit of arthritis in these fingers here. And again, I remembered this time in my teen years, and I thought, well, I feel pretty good. I don't think it's mental emotional. My diet seems good. I don't have inflammatory foods I'm eating all the time. What else could it be? So I went back and I did a scan. And the scan didn't show that I had any issues with my hands at all. What it did show that I had some digestive parasites that were creating inflammation in my joints. And that inflammation went to the weakest area of the body first, which in my case was this hand. As soon as I cleared the parasites, arthritis reversed completely. And yet what my doctor had said then, and when I was a teenager, is it's genetics. Both your grandmothers have arthritis. Both your great-grandmothers have arthritis. It's in your genes. Maybe that's true, but you don't have to accept it. There are other things you can do to change that. It's really interesting in the scans. What we notice is mindset patterns. So for example, going back to the arthritis, if I see a lot of tension, inflammation, joint pain, I'm going to start a conversation saying, how do you feel about yourself? Are you a perfectionist? Do you feel that you are worthy? Do you feel that you need more self-love? Do you feel like you have to prove your worth? And this helps people open up and make those connections. It's incredibly powerful when you realize what's behind the action. MS is another one that comes up often. Usually these thinking patterns are with individuals who are really nice. Really nice. Everyone loves them. They would never say no to you. They would go above and beyond and do everything. I see a lot of nods here. Yes. They don't put their needs first, ever. This is the mindset pattern I see with clients who come in with MS. I say you need to make yourself, make your needs first, learn to love yourself, and that is going to be a path that will help you. It's the mindset that has to shift. That's fundamental.
Do you see that with lupus as well?
Sometimes, yes. Yeah. Lupus is in that same category. There are a few other elements that go with the lupus, but yes, it's very similar. Yeah. Pardon? Multiple sclerosis. When we have a thought, it creates an electrical charge. And when we have an emotion, it creates a magnetic frequency. This is measured as your electromagnetic frequency, commonly referred to as an aura. The technology picks this up as well. And many times, what we will see is weakness in the auric field. So for example, if somebody has a lot of weakness in the head area of their auric field, my first question to them is, where do you sleep? Do you sleep with your head next to the wall? And if so, I want you to go back and check if there are cables running up and down behind you, because that has a powerful disharmonic EMF signature that impacts you. You're sleeping there for 6, 7, 8 hours every single night. It's going to impact you. The other reason we see weakness in the auric field is infection, emotional stress, old injuries that haven't healed completely. We carry so much, not just genetically in our DNA, but in our auric field, our memories, the energy that surrounds us. And it shows in the aura. So what impacts our health most often? There are a variety of factors. The main ones that I see are stress, negative ones, because we have positive stress as well that pushes us to grow, to expand, to become better versions of ourselves. That's fine, that's short-term stress. But the stress where you're constantly tense, you create a cascade of hormones, adrenaline, various substances that flood your body and can create inflammation and a variety of disharmonic health patterns. Mold is huge, especially if you live in a country that has a lot of dampness. Mold is an incredible mycotoxin, and it can really disrupt your hormones, your endocrine system, your nervous system, your ability to think, brain fog, oftentimes is due to heavy buildup of mold in your body. Parasites. You know, a parasite doesn't care if you're a dog or a human. They don't. They're not discriminatory at all. They love us all. And we live with so many different parasites and mold and bacteria. And that's okay, as long as they're in small numbers. We have a symbiotic relationship. We're also a part of nature, and that's fine. But when our health is low, when we're stressed, we create an acidic environment that is the perfect environment for these critters to really expand and grow. And then you have an issue. Disharmonic EMFs. EMFs on its own are not a bad thing. Our sun, the stars, they have a harmonic EMF. Our planet has a beautiful harmonic EMF. That's why when we go outside barefoot and we ground ourselves, it feels so good to the nervous system. Disharmonic EMFs work against us, and they really disrupt our body's natural circadian rhythms. So I just want to show you a little bit of mold here. If you see mold, it's already too late. It's already everywhere. And we don't have so much time, so I'm going to go through this quite quickly. I'm just going to say regarding mold, please don't try to remove it with soap and water. The moment you touch it, the mold spores release millions of spores into the air, and you are breathing that in. So you need to disable and kill the spores first before you scrub it off. Okay. Here are 3 ways that are highly effective. Yes, I can go back. Could you please play this video? Thank you. So this is a high-powered microscope showing you what happens when frequency kills a parasite. So the technology samples the exact frequency of that particular parasite. It then puts it back into the body amplified. And what happens, the parasite can't stand that amplified frequency. So the outer cells of the body begin to break off, disintegrate, and then it dies, as you see. And what happens next? Our bodies flush it out as we go to the bathroom the next couple of days. Just a few. The biggest surprises that clients often have is how many critters we live with, and they get very uncomfortable with it. It's okay, it's a fact of life. Just like trees, animals, our garden have millions and millions of other mold, bacteria, elements living in symbiosis. As long as there's harmony, you're okay. What you don't want is to have one that really gets strong and then overpowers the rest, causing problems. And they're also surprised by how easy it can be to reverse a lot of these symptoms once you understand what's causing it. So what does thriving look like? For me, my definition is that it's having the energy to play with your children, your family, going on adventures with your friends. It's having an incredible, vibrant life where you're passionate, waking up in the morning and you have energy to get into your soul work, to do what you want to do in this life. And it's worth its weight in gold. I am so grateful and appreciative that I could walk up these stairs to be here with you today. I'm so grateful that when I open my eyes, I can see all you beautiful people. I'm so grateful that when I take a deep breath, it feels good, that my lungs expand and they work really well. I had pneumonia 5 times, so I really appreciate that one too. So, I'd like us to do an exercise together. Please close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And imagine how good this feels to you. Inhale deeply and enjoy that wonderful feeling of satisfaction as you give your body the oxygen it craves. Stretch your body, feeling the muscles relax and the tension melt away. Smell your favorite flowers or your mom's cooking, letting the familiar scents transport you to a place of comfort and joy. Feel the tender, soft touch of a loved one caressing your arm, bringing warmth and affection. Sink into a warm bath after a cold day outside, feeling the soothing water envelop your body and ease your stress. Now place your hands over your heart, smile, and silently say to yourself, "Thank you, body. Thank you, organs, glands, bones. Thank you, cells. Thank you for being powerful, strong, resilient, and so good at doing what you do. I appreciate you, body. I love you, body." Now, out loud, repeat these affirmations together. I am resilient, perfect, and whole.
I am resilient, perfect, and whole.
I trust my body's ability to heal and thrive.
I trust my body's ability to heal and thrive.
I am grateful for my strong and healthy body.
I am grateful for my strong and healthy body.
Aren't these bodies an absolute joy to live in? Isn't it wonderful having this beautiful temple to enjoy life through? Let's take good care of themselves. Let's make sure that we have the strength and the energy to show up our very best in this world, doing what we were born to do, living a life we love, sharing and elevating together. So remember, when you have faced mysterious health issues or know someone who has, there is always hope. You do have the power to change that. You are powerful beyond measure. You can reverse so many conditions that seem hopeless. I've seen it many times. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here.